Hi everyone, welcome back to Gardening from Square One. And if you are new here, welcome. In this video, we will be showing how the side yard was transformed from a space with overgrown weeds and these gorgeous live oak trees to a tranquil, cozy space. This side yard project began June of 2024, so it is exactly 1 year later. And in this video, we will go over the goals for the space, design planning, money saving tips, some challenges, plus plant varieties and information and links to where some plants can be purchased and even more. So if you're looking to transform or modify your space, or you simply want a glimpse at something new, this video is for you. Hardscaping and irrigation infrastructure went in first, and even though most of the plant selections are drought tolerant, most need regular rain or watering until becoming established, and then they can be weaned off of irrigation. So natural materials, no concrete, no more wrought iron, integrity maintained. Because looking at the side of my house, I needed to match or at least complement the warm brown and tan beige tones with hardscape selections. Some of the most visually appealing gardens that I see stay true to the surrounding environments, including the existing home. As we walked through the gate to enter the side yard, it was important to be greeted with a light, beautiful fragrance. I think it kind of says welcome and it is inviting. Garden entrances are so important because they can be welcoming or they can say go away. What we see, smell, and hear is so important. So on the right, I planted a stellar ruby magnolia. It is an evergreen shrub that grows in zones 7 through 9. The flowers on this plant that arrive in spring should have a banana scent. This spring I got my first flower, but it was gone before I could sniff it, so I can't attest to that. However, it is flanked by 2 newly planted dark blue flowering salvias to provide that welcoming beauty. To the left is my tiny El Niño Chitalpa, which we planted this past fall. I should have bought a larger plant, but my first El Niño Chitalpa shot up to about 4 to 5 feet in its first year. And here in year 2, that tiny plant is over 7 feet tall. So this large shrub, small tree has beautifully fragrant trumpet-shaped lilac pink blooms, and it grows in zones 6 to 9. Don't you just love what trees and plants do to filter and perfume our air? One of the selling points for this plot of land was the gorgeous mix of live oak trees. So we knew these trees weren't going anywhere. And when thinking about what to do with this space, the goal became adding to, not detracting or concealing the natural beauty that already existed. It is important to spend time in the space looking around from all angles and surveying what you see and experience. I like to take notes, listing what is desirable while working on improving and adding to everything else. So no matter what the change is, big or small, just stopping and taking a good look around from all angles can make a huge difference in our choices. So we knew adding shrubs for privacy was important. After basic irrigation infrastructure went in, perimeter plants were added for this privacy. So this is a mix of dwarf Burford hollies, which will become about 8 to 10 feet in height and width and feed the birds with delicious berries. Well, maybe they're delicious during the winter. And blue point junipers, which were struggling. I was clearly doing something wrong, but I think I figured it out by providing a bit more water as they tried to get established. There's also a mix of 2 to 3 inch river rocks around the perimeter of the property because in researching snakes, I read that they do not prefer slithering over river rock, pea gravel, and lava rock. And I certainly research snakes because I am a city girl living in a semi-rural setting. And after seeing about 4 in 1 year, plus this one last week, oh my, yes, I researched snakes. This non-poisonous snake led to my taking an about face and going back into the house, watching from a window, hoping it would leave my yard and go into the open space across the street, and fortunately, it did. Hearing the sounds of songbirds high up in the trees and the filtered shade makes this space so much more comfortable than other parts of the yard, usually by at least 8 degrees, which signaled the creation of a more relaxed vibe. So our thoughts of putting a putting green and a space for cornhole went right out the window in favor of Adirondack chairs and a calm color palette. So letting the natural environment guide our choices. Does an observation tell us so much? Plants will fall into a crisp, cool color palette to keep the space visually tranquil versus lively and vibrant. So white, blue, lavender, purple with a touch of pink became the color scheme. And over the past several months with the shovel or auger, I planted every single plant in this space. And if my back could talk. But there were zero labor costs except for adding the hardscape and infrastructure. So if you have the patience and wherewithal, this can be a great money saver. The Agastache were 1-gallon plants purchased for $16, although I think recently that grower is selling these plants on Amazon that they are $19 now, and I'll link that below. However, with Prime, there was no shipping charge at all for all of these 1-gallon plants, which arrived healthy, intact, and with good root development. HEB, the local grocery store, had 3-gallon Mystic Spire Salvia for $14.98 each. About 5 of these plants, so just about $75, a little more with taxes, and divided each plant into 3 1-gallon plants. So I got 15 1-gallon Mystic Spire Salvias for $75 and planted them throughout the space. Here, going into year 2, these plants are really taking off. These are 3 Mexican heather. They have gorgeous lavender little flowers. It's going to remain a small plant. I don't really know much about it. I saw it at the grocery store. I was walking in and caught my eye, so I purchased 3 and I put them in the mott of trees. So here's a drift of 13 Veronica Lavender Lightsaber. These plants are hardy down to zone 4, and in my area, they are semi-evergreen, evergreen. The ones that are in my front planter growing with getting morning sun only are evergreen. The ones in this space that I planted last fall, they were evergreen throughout my winter here. The ones in my long bed, not so much. Those... They're kind of struggling, and it's going into year 2 that they've been in that bed, and I'm coming to the conclusion that Veronica do better in my hot zone 8B, growing in part sun, filtered sun, or morning sun only. So I may move them to a different part of the garden this fall. These are performing quite well. I think they have a little bit of bud worm damage on them. It's not drastic. I just see it here and there on different leaves. Now, in this area, I have birds, lizards, frogs, and I'm not going to worry about this little bit of damage because I think something naturally living in this environment right here, so this ecosystem will probably keep the budworms at bay. Fingers crossed. I'll keep watching, but my preference is just to let nature just kind of take care of things. Now here's a pretty little Calibrachoa. There's actually 4 in this pot, 4 or 5 that I purchased from HEB, a local grocery store. And they're planted around this Green Mountain boxwood that's just in a big black plastic pot that I purchased from Home Depot with free shipping, of course. Adding nice pots and things like that, garden art, it's not really in our budget right now, maybe one day, but I think it looks pretty in this pot. I saw Oakleaf hydrangeas growing around live oak trees at a local outdoor mall and decided to research the plant and then did the same. So taking suggestions from other landscapes in the area can be helpful. These Gatsby Moon Oakleaf hydrangeas were added, keeping in mind to space plants at least 4 to 5 feet away from the tree's trunks and avoiding large roots. These Oakleaf hydrangeas are for zones 5 through 9. They become 6 to 8 feet in height and width with gorgeous flowers, and these plants have absolutely striking dark burgundy fall leaves. So we are at the southwest corner. This is the Chef's Choice Rosemary. We'll have little lavender flowers in early spring. It's evergreen, hardy down to zone 6. My Bolero roses are behind it. I have about 6 or 7 Bolero roses. They will become about 4 feet in height, 2 to 3 feet in width. And then behind it, I'm lifting the canopy on this Busy Bee Vitex. That is a low C variety that will become about 6 to 8 feet in width. It is very long blooming. Here is a Merlot Redbud tree. It has pretty lavender pink flowers that arrive in late winter and thick purple leaves. This tree and it's a small tree. It is a cross between a Texas Redbud and an Eastern Redbud. It has the drought tolerance and the heat tolerance of the Texas Redbud and the beauty of the Eastern Redbud. This plant has had at least 2 lives in my garden. Year 1, I had it growing in a pot at the back of the house, forgot to water it, thought it was dead, but after a good rain, it began sprouting new growth. So then I planted it in the motte of trees prior to landscaping the space. And again, the space was ignored because nothing was here but weeds. It was rarely watered. I thought it was a goner. Nope. After a good downpour, it began pushing out new growth again, and now it's beginning to thrive. Here's a drift of Salvia Greggii white. Now, Salvia Greggii are native to parts of Texas and New Mexico. They grow in zone 7 to 9, are evergreen, and very drought tolerant once established. I had ordered these from a grower selling plants on Etsy. Recently, I caught a fawn nibbling these deer-resistant plants and my Veronica, both of which are deer-resistant. But it was hungry, and it just serves as proof that if animals are hungry enough, so much is added to the menu. This poor little baby had been living between my yard and that of my neighbors for about a week. We had hoped its mama would return, but ultimately we had to call the game warden so it could get the care it so desperately needed. And here's the totally stoked Aster photobombing this Merlot Redbud. I just love the foliage on these plants. I would be inclined to grow it only for the foliage difference. It's so great to have varying shades of green and foliage textures because that can add visual interest early in the season when nothing's flowering yet. The Green Mountain Boxwood will become about 5 feet in height and about 3 feet in width, providing evergreen interest to the site. And because this faces the street, it's an extra layer to deaden any sound or noise from the street, but it also creates a crisp green backdrop for the white Bolero roses. So here's a drift of Bolero roses, and they are gorgeous white roses. They're also highly fragrant. I need to add one where the white flag is over here. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have about 8 or 9 in this area, and they don't look like much right now, but they will become 4 feet or so in height, 2 to 3 feet in width. I think that the white of the Bolero roses will mix beautifully with the blue to light lavender, the Agastache, and then on the curve, they are mixed with the soft purple of the East Friesland Salvia. And speaking of fragrance, we also added lilacs. Yes, lilacs in my hot Central Texas 8B. And in the first year, this little plant bloomed. We added this double blue flowering lilac a few months ago. I purchased it from Home Depot. And the nice thing about ordering plants online with Home Depot is that they arrive free of shipping charges. And if you have to order a lot of plants like we've had to do, the shipping costs can really add up, especially for 1-gallon plants or larger. Now, this was one part of the yard where the temperatures are the coolest, like I mentioned, about 8 to 9 degrees. So a cooler microclimate, I hope, will help these lilacs stay happy. Thus far, it's going well, but we shall see. Here's a tater tot arborvitae that was nibbled on by rabbits, etc. during the winter, but it seems to be rebounding nicely. It's not deer or rabbit resistant, but I figured I would take my chances with this little 1-gallon plant, which was also purchased from Home Depot with no shipping charges. And here's my white wedding hydrangea. This was planted last fall. It was very late to leaf out, but once it started, it took off like gangbusters. No flowers yet, so I'm really eager to see the gorgeous white flowers that this hydrangea is supposed to have. The trees are irregularly placed by nature, so following nature, the main paths we thought should curve around and go through the space, avoiding the trees. I'm a believer that there should be at least 2 to 3 paths or entrances to a space if possible. So we planted 2 connected diagonal paths for visual interest. And just as we all often plant in odd numbers, unbalance can be interesting too. So an informal path with pea gravel was placed through the interior on both sides of this seating area. The boxwood are a baby gem, which I find are not as heat tolerant as other varieties, but perfect for the space, adding structure and evergreen interest. I value the evergreen structure size and shape options it adds to the landscape. For more evergreen interest and textural variety, I planted the fast-growing and easy care featherfrost carex. This carex is for zones 5 through 9, and it is reported to handle a bit more sun. Now here in my hot climate, it performs well in filtered morning sun only. The blades of the flax lily also provide texture and variegation. Now, the flax lily is for USDA hardiness zones 9 through 11. I planted 5, but 2 were lost this past winter. I had covered all 5 with burlap kind of late. However, the last 2 may have been in a more exposed space. So I went out and replaced those 2 with white lantana bought from a local nursery. The plants at the local nursery were $10 for the plants, each plant. And the exact same size plant every day, all day, are just under $7 at HEB, a local grocery store. I will share more of my HEB finds for those of you who garden or live in an area where there is an HEB grocery store, just to share what I find. On this side of the pea gravel and flagstone seating area are more Bolero roses, East Friesland Salvia with Jack Frost Brennera underplanted. I added the Brennera about 8 weeks ago, and I'm curious to see how it will handle the Central Texas summer. I've lost 2, but so far they seem to be doing well. I have to dig up the 2 that bit the dust to figure out exactly what happened there. My peony was added, it was late winter, early spring. It did not bloom this year, which is not unexpected. It is a Sarah Bernhardt and another Home Depot purchase with free shipping. I just hope it survives the summer, because if it does, I think I'll be home free with this one. I added this Fairy Trail Bride hydrangea in this pot. I believe it was late last spring, and now it's flowering. Isn't it so pretty? I would have planted it in the ground in this part-sun location, but I encountered tree roots in the area, so that became a no-go. This area, you guys, is still a work in progress. I need to add a few more plants, maybe a small tree somewhere, and hopefully I can find something interesting to put in a couple of the spaces. There were plants that I didn't include, like the Chinese snowball viburnums. I also have arrowroot viburnums in the space. I have some salvia that I didn't go over or mention. But when I do the next tour, I will be sure to feature some of those plants and whatever I continue to add. I just didn't want to make a 1-hour video. I did not think anybody would be watching at that point. And if you are still watching, thank you. And with that said, we have reached the end of this brief before and after. I'm really hoping that this space matures into what I'm envisioning. Feel free to add any comments or questions that you have below. And please do not forget to click like, subscribe, and notifications. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day in your garden. Bye.